Hello, Seymour again with your MAGFAST weekly update. And the other day I promised that we would look at the cables, the little built-in cable, the little flippity-flip, bloop, 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 little cable in the top like that. I showed you the magnet system the other week that holds it in, but this week I wanted to show you a couple of things about the design. If I were to guess, there's probably 150 or 200 hours has gone into the design just of the cables themselves. In total, I'm personally certainly 40 or 50 hours of continuous work into these cables. So let me give you a little bit of an insight. If we just go to the model, you remember last week I was showing you MAGFAST Life, but of course all of the power banks have the cable in the top. That's why it's so important to get it right. So here's MAGFAST Life with the cable, and when these models came in, if you're super observant, you might notice something that I noticed after a little while looking at it, that this isn't quite the correct shape for our C cable. And the thing is, it actually is, but the engineers were being so careful that when they were finalizing these 3D models, they put all three cables, right, which you couldn't do in the real world because cables can't occupy the same space, but they put all three cables into the same space. So if I go here and do my thing where I hide, you'll see there's another, off you go, you'll see there's another shell. Has it gone yet? There's another shell underneath, and if I hide that one, then you'll see there's another, is it disappearing or not? I don't know if it's behaving or not. And I hide again. There, do you see I had to do it 3 times to get rid of all of the cables, and that was because they wanted to make sure that all 3 cables were behaving correctly inside. Now the challenge is, let me just show you, we've got the 3 tips here. There's C, hide it. They've also got, and the 2 of them are going to be together here. Is it hiding? It sometimes takes the software a second or two to do the to actually do the hiding part. Did it get it? There you go. It's hidden. And here what you've got is it's a little difficult to see. Let me show it for you broken out. There's C. Okay, there's the tip for USB-C. So it's a hollow replica of it, but that's the size and shape. Hang on, let me just make it look normal. There you go. There's the C. There's the micro. Okay, and here is the Apple Lightning tip. Okay, and each of these, excuse me, hang on. Each of these has, this is what I wanted to get to, a piece like this. You see this guy here? This is the part that, let me break it out here, that basically stops all of the plastic that when you mold it, it protects the tip that comes out here and the electronics which are inside here. It protects them from all of the silicone-y, rubbery plastic as it starts to flow. Ours is unusual in that it's got this area here for the ball bearing that I'll show you in just a second. That's to do with the magnet that holds it into position. But each of these 3 containers here, because the 3 tips are different, right? This is different than this is different than this. Each of them has different requirements, and that means that there couldn't actually be, we wanted to make just one beautiful cable shape and then make it the same for all of them. But it turns out that we had to do several. So this is the one that you've seen quite a few times before, and you've heard me sounding a little bit crazy when I talk about how much I love it and how in love I am with the different shapes. But this is, as I said, hundreds of hours work altogether, many dozens of work just on getting these shapes and curves correct. But this is the C, and we'd originally hoped, as I say, to just make one shape for all of this, and then fit all of the tips in. It turned out not to be quite possible. So I'll just briefly show you the difference here. We've got this lovely curve in here that makes it stronger than if it were a right angle. Okay, and I think I said this to you before, but this really gives me an appreciation for folks who design cars. All right, and you look at most cars are not very good looking, but if you see a really beautiful sports car, it just looks great from every single angle. And I think we've done a pretty good job with this. I'm very fond of this bump. I feel it kind of looks like a bump on top of a 747 plane, or a kind of the bump you have on the hood of a really powerful car. So this is USB-C, which is the best looking of it. All the curves are perfect on it. And USB-C is the future. I mean, 5 years from now, we're going to be wondering what we were ever doing using the other cables, I believe. And about you, I've sort of I've got some USB-Cs in use in my life now, but more and more times, I bought a charger just the other day, a special one for the car, and it had a USB-C on the side, and C is so much better. Then we go to our micro cable, and it's very slightly different. You'll see it doesn't have quite the same curve across the front, and the reason is because this interior part has a certain shape and a certain requirement, but there's then also manufacturing requirements, the minimum thicknesses that you can have, various things that are required for these cables to be strong, because we really want them to last. It's much better for everybody. We think if these cables last, it's much better for you. It's much better for us as well, because we don't want to be having to, we love you, but we'd love you to just call up and have a chat. We'd much rather do that than be having to, replace something because it wasn't. So nice and strong in there. And as you can see, we've got much the same shape profile here, but for lightning here, more space was needed underneath. And you'll see, do you see the way it's kind of thicker along the underside here than we achieved for, if you look at that, sorry, they're not, maybe I can do this. If I make it an exact view from the side for each of them, you'll better be able to see the difference. Hang on, view from the side, and this one will also do view from the side, and you'll be able to see exactly what it is. If you look at the shape profile here, it's kind of like a beautiful gumdrop, a raindrop or something, isn't it there? Then we go to micro, and we retain much of the same shape. It looks a little, this is flatter when viewed from above. And then when we go to lightning, unfortunately, we needed to take a little more space here. I don't think you'll notice much day to day, but it's still pretty good looking. And we get exactly the same, we get exactly the same shape down at this end of the cable. Lovely kind of, it looks like some sort of beautiful sort of human or animal shape, I think. Really, really super. All right, and then the other thing that I had just said, hang on, that was got a bit out of control. Let's go back here. Was I said I would show you the ball bearing inside. So to do this, I'm going to take our outer silicone-y rubbery sleeve. I'm going to hide it. And let's see what's inside. This hide function is very intermittent, isn't it? Let's try again. Hide. Boom, and off it goes. All right, and what have we got going on here? Well, we've got the USB-C cable plug, I should say, that's at this end. All right, then there's the cable here. They've just got a bar representing the sheath of the cable. If I hide that, you'll see the individual strands, I think, inside. Can we see those? Again, the hide thing is being temperamental. Hide. Boom, there you go. There's the individual cables inside. And do you remember I spoke about this sheath here that protects the electronics and so on from the plastic as it flows in? That's that guy there. And I showed you just now that ours has a special place in the bottom for this guy. There's a tiny little piece. I'll break it out into a new document here. This little guy is ferrous metal. Let's make it a bit smaller there. So this is ferrous metal, and you remember I showed you in life. Where's life? Yeah. Do you remember last week I showed you in fact, let's do it again here. If I hide the top, just on the inside here. Oh, come on, hide. There we go. Just inside here, here's the little magnet that. Let's just pull it down. Zoom in a little bit here. Right, so do you now see there's the magnet that pulls on the little ferrous metal piece here. There's the ball by itself. Okay. Why is there not a magnet in the cable? Because Apple's Lightning specifications for the Lightning cable, because we are a licensee of the Apple MFI program, everything's been made under license according to their specifications, says that it's fantastic and lasts forever. But Apple doesn't allow magnets in the cable. So we have the magnet on one side in the product, that pulls on the ball bearing in the cable. So there you go, that's your weekly update. Gives you some idea of the amount of complexity and care that has gone into making just the little cables on the top of all of your chargers. You're going to love holding them in your hands. Let's just leave it at that.